Hello everyone, I am Meenakshi and I welcome all of you to Tathastu. Today we are going to discuss about the Lord of Dance, its history and symbolism. The topic is very interesting and it is a lot of association connection with our ancient history. So let's start. So what is the context? Why this topic is in news? This topic is in news because the G20 summit, which is being held in New Delhi, this Nataraj statue, the Lord of Dance, is placed in front of the venue of the G20 summit. So the venue of G20 summit is the newly inaugurated Bharat Mandapam. This is Mandapam. I hope you can see it on your screens. And this is the Nataraj statue which is placed in front of the G20 venue. This is what makes this topic important. The summit is in itself an important event, and the things which are associated with the summit also makes it important. So let's discuss about this. So as I have given you the context already, that the G20 summit, which will be taking place at newly inaugurated Bharat Mandapam, it will have a statue of Nataraj in the front, and you can see it in the picture as well. So in picture you will be seeing that the statue looks very small, very tiny, but actually it is a very magnificent statue. It is 27 feet tall and 18 ton in weight. It is humongous in size. The statue is really very tall and it stands in front of the venue of Bharat Mandapam. Now, if we talk about, the statue is made up of Asht Dhatu. Asht means eight. So, eight metals have been used to make this statue, and those metals are gold, silver, copper, lead, mercury, iron, tin, and zinc. Ashtadhatu, apart from this particular statue, is also used for constructing several idols of gods and goddesses. So I hope this much is clear to you. The context why it is in news is clear to you, that it is in news because of the G20 summit. Now let's discuss about this in detail. First of all, starting from here only, that this particular statue is drawn its inspiration from three revered Nataraj idols. Now there are three temples. वैसे तो there are lots of temples, but there are three particular temples of Thillai Nataraj temple. It is in Chidambaram. Then there is this Uma Maheshwar temple which is in Koneri Rajapuram, and then there is this Brihadeshwara temple which is in Thanjavur. Now these particular temples, these three temples have Nataraj idols as well. So this idol draws its inspiration from the Nataraj idols of these temples. And if we talk about these three temples were constructed by the Cholas. So we will be discussing about the association of Cholas with the Nataraj, and in detail the Chola dynasty as well. So if we talk about the Cholas here only, they were at their peak around 9 to 11th centuries. So this was their peak time when they ruled almost the over the much of the peninsular India, and they were these great patrons of art and high culture. Now their art and architecture was at par excellence at that time. They have constructed some of the greatest temple, and those temples are now part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. So their temple have this mix of art as well as spirituality, and they have this great architecture at in such ancient times. So we'll be discussing about that as well. Now, if we talk about the religion, the Cholas, they were devout Shivites. They worshipped the Lord Shiva. They have built elaborate Shiv temples, and one of the prominent example of them is this Thanjavur temple of Brihadeshwara, which is in Brihadeshwara temple of Thanjavur, sorry. So it is one of the prime example. Now let's discuss about the evolution. Okay, so first of all, as we are discussing about Nataraj, so how did it evolve and how did it reach the Cholas, and why Cholas are associated with it? So initially, we know that initially we don't used to worship deities. During the time of Indus Valley civilization, we have we worshipped nature, and we have a mother goddess as well, and we have found a Pashupati seal from Indus Valley civilization. Now then there was this Vedic age where we had these three primary gods which were known as Indra, Agni and Rud. Later on, during the time of this Puranic Hinduism, we have seen the emergence of Lord Shiva. And this Lord Shiva was associated with, or he was identified with, the Lord Rudra of the Vedic Hinduism. So this is the time period during the Puranic Hinduism when we talk about Lord Shiva for the first time. Before that, we had in this Pashupati seal of Indus Valley civilization, and then we have Rudra in the Vedic age. Now moving towards this Puranic Hinduism only, we have here Shiva. He was the yogi. We have dancing Shiva on coins and seal. We started worshipping Shivling. We worship Shivling even today. So we started worshipping Shivling from here. We have found this dancing Shiva or Nataraj during the Gupta period as well on the stones and rocks. So this we are talking about North India. This was particularly happening or taking place in North India. But when we move towards South India, Nataraj have by the second half of the first millennium moved to South India. Now at this particular time period, we had Chalukyas of Badami which were ruling between the 6th to 8th century. We had Pallavas of Kanchipuram which were ruling. At this particular, we don't have Cholas as of now. Now moving towards, there were constant wars between them, of course, to establish their supremacy. So there were constant wars between them which led to cultural exchange, and from here on the Pallavas make a shift to bronze and freestanding Nataraj. So now they were also to some extent associated with Nataraj, and after that, when the Pallavas declined and the Cholas rule revived again, they made this bronze Nataraj popular from 10th 11th centuries, and they started constructing this Nataraj deity, Nataraj in their popular temples. So from here on, the Nataraj, because they popularized it. It existed before, but the Cholas popularized it, and they are associated, and hence it is the reason why the Nataraj is associated with the Cholas. Now let's learn some interesting things about the Chola dynasty. So the Cholas, if we talk about the Cholas, how did they, because here it is written that the revival of Chola rule. Before that, there was the Sangam period, and after the decline of Sangam period, the Cholas became feudatories in Uriyur. So they became this feudatories in Uriyur, and they became prominent in 9th to 11th century. As I said, they became prominent again in 9th century, and they established empire comprising major portion of South India. And at that time, in this 9th century, when they established their empire, the capital was Tanjore, and more popularly, as you can see in the map, this Chola supremacy was not limited to India only. They extended. They had these external trade relations also with China, with Java. They had this external international trade relation with other countries as well. And you can see this is the supremacy, how they ruled. And one more important thing about Cholas is that they're considered one of the longest ruling dynasty in the world. So this is also important. At that time, they managed everything. They had this excellent navy. They had this excellent maritime trade. They practiced international trade. Also, they had cultural exchanges with various countries, and they had this supremacy almost over all of peninsular India. So before that, they became, after the decline, they became feudatories in Uriyur. But in 9th century, the Chola rule was revived by Vijayalaya Chola, and later on it was consolidated by Parantak Chola I. So after Vijayalaya Chola, it was his son Aditya who ruled for some time. But then if we talk about one of the prominent ruler of the early Cholas, then it was Parantak Chola. But there are other two rulers who are associated with the supremacy, who are considered one of the finest emperors of the Chola dynasty. They are Rajaraj I, who built this great Chola empire and constructed the Brihadeshwara Temple of Thanjavur. So we recently saw that the idol draws its inspiration from the Brihadeshwara Temple of Thanjavur also. So it was constructed by Rajaraj I. And if we talk about Rajendra I, he expanded and extended the Chola territory. So he basically had these several conquests through which he was expanding the Chola territory. There was these overseas conquests to Kheda and to Sri Vijaya. So there were lot of things going on during this period. There was this revival of art and culture. They were patronizing temples. They were having these conquests, leading this conquest. They were expanding the territory. So there were these things which were going on during the period of Rajaraj I and then Rajendra I. Now, if we talk about Rajendra I, he built this Gangai Konda Cholapuram temple to commemorate his victories in North Indian military expedition. So they were also, as I said, they were having these several conquests. They were moving towards North India as well. So and they were victorious in it as well. So to commemorate those victories, he constructed this Gangai Konda Cholapuram. We will be discussing a few points about what was the things which were present at the time of the Chola dynasty. So these Chola efforts at providing tank and canal irrigation. So they used to provide this tank and canal irrigation for agriculture, and this is the reason why they had this, because at that time the economy was predominantly agriculturalist. We had agriculture as the prime occupation, main occupation. So they used to provide this tank and canal irrigation, which resulted in thriving agriculture as well as trade also. Now, during this time, we see, as I said in the beginning of the video only, that they had constructed excellent temples, and during ancient time these temples were not only used for worshipping. The temples were the hub of activities, the social activities. They were the hub of these socio-economic activities. Actually, there were the social activities there. There was this cultural activities there. There was this economic activities. It was basically a holistic learning center. So during the time of Chola also, the temples became the hub of activities, which lead to patronage of art and letters as well as the art and culture. Moving towards, as I said, the temple became the hub of activities. Then there were these Brahmadayams. Now these Brahmadayams, because there were certain taxes which were levied by the state in lieu of the services which they provided. So there were these Brahmadayams who enjoyed special privileges, and one of them was tax exemption. They don't have to pay the taxes. Now there are several royal temples at Thanjavur, at Gangaikonda, Cholapuram, which exemplified the perfection and excellence attained in architecture. I've said it many times. They have this architecture at par excellence. It was the unique architecture which made them really unique and popular. The Chola rulers were ardent Shaivites, which supported the cause of Shaivism and Shaiva canon. And during their time, the Shiva canon was codified by this Shiva canon was known as Thirumarai, and it was codified by Nambi and they are Nambi. So this is important for your prelims examination. Actually, this can be asked. These things have been asked multiple times. Now, maritime trade flourished. As I said, they had this excellent navy, and they used to trade. And they used to have this maritime trade. Now these are the items which were exported: sandalwood, ebony, condiments, precious gems, grains, salt, oil, paddy. So all these things were exported during their time, and there were certain things which were imported as well. It was copper, tin, mercury and camphor. The Chola kings were great patrons of learning, and this is the reason why one of the king, Rajendra I, he established this Vedic College at Iniram, which is in present day South Arcot district. So I hope this much is clear to you. Now moving towards this Shiva as the Lord of Dance, or we will be discussing about that particular Nataraja statue in detail. So Shiva, as he is worshipped today, evolved from the Vedic deity Rudra. I already told you that he was identified with the Vedic deity Rudra, and we also call him Mahakal. So Lord Shiva is also known as the death and time. He is also known as the Mahakal, which destroys all things. Apart from that, he is a great ascetic and ascetic basically means sannyasi. He is also considered. He has these different forms. Every god has this different form. So he also has these different form, different versions. He is also a great ascetic and a patron of ascetics. So presently, this is how we worship him. Now moving towards the Lord of Dance, this statue, we did discuss about it. Shiv is also Lord of Dance or Nataraja, and you can see this statue. He is said to have invented, he almost invented 108 different dances. This is a lot, big number, 108 dances. Some of them are calm, some of them are gentle, others are fierce. We usually say Shiv Tandav, he'll perform Tandav. So he have invented these 108 dance forms. Some of them are gentle, others are fierce. Now we talk about this Nataraj statue particularly. We see that this is this halo. This is this aureole or halo, which is considered the circle of the word from life to death. So this is known as the circle of the word. And we can see these dreadlocks of Lord Shiva. So it is said that he was performing the dance with so energy. So the dreadlocks are like this. They have flared out because of the energy he has strived in dance, and this is the rhythmic pose in which he is standing. So let's discuss about this pose. So in his upper hand, so this is his upper hand, it basically consists of a damru whose sound draws all creatures into his rhythmic motion, the rhythmic motion he is standing in. And in his upper left arm, this is his upper left arm, he has this Agni, which he can wield to destroy the universe. As I said, he has been said the destroyer as well as the preserver of the world. So this is the Damru, which is attracting all the creatures, and this is fire, which he can use to which he can wield to destroy the universe. And also under one of his feet is this dwarf like figure which represent illusion. So these are the things, these are the detailings of that particular Nataraj statue. And amidst all the descriptive symbolism, he also reassures and shows Shiva as the protector, because you can see over here that this is the Abhay Mudra. He is performing this Abhay Mudra with his right hand, a gesture which allays fear, which gives us reassurance basically. And then we have this his raised feet over here, his front left arm, he points to his raised feet, asking his devotees to seek refuge as his feet. So therefore he has been shown as destroyer as well as the preserver or the protector, and he always wears a broad smile, as you can see on his face. So this is some of the important features of the Nataraj statue. Now there are the 5 other things we can conclude from here, that it is the Srishti. He talks, this particular statue reflects about Srishti, that is creation. How does that represent? Because he have this Damru which symbolize the vibration that create the universe, and it is often paralleled with this Big Bang theory as well. So this is how Shiva has been shown. Number 2 is Samharya, which is known as destruction. We can see the Agni in his hand, which he can, as I said, he can use to wield or destroy the universe. Then this is the Sthiti, maintenance or protection, which is his open palm of the forehand, which assures that cosmic changes are normal, and Nataraj, this open palm, and Nataraj is here to protect all of you, and he will maintain this balance of the universe. Then we have Tirobhav, which is concealment, which is shown by his hidden lower left palm, which points downward, which signified that Nataraj role as creator of illusion or Maya, or the veil of this ignorance. And then we have this Anugraha, which is blessing or liberation. It is denoted by this field, that the devotees can seek refuge at his feet. So these are the things which we can conclude. Now moving toward how this statue was casted, it was made using this lost wax technique. The technique is around 6,000 years old, but it gained prominence during the Chola period only. That is why more prominently this statue is associated with the Chola period. The crafting process adopted was traditional lost wax casting, which is indigenous to Chola era. The lost wax method was foremost technique to produce elaborate metallic sculptures, and Cholas, particularly the Cholas, took it to new zenith. So what we do in this technique, then that there is a mold which is made of wax, and then it is coated with the alluvial soil which is brought from this Kaveri river. There are several coatings, then it is left to dry, and then with the then that statue, that mold is, and the wax in that mold is burned with is shown to this high heat or high temperature, where the wax gets melted, and we have this particular mold. We get this particular mold which can later be filled with the bronze or the ashtadhatu, and then we can get our sculpture which we wanted. So this particular statue is also used making the lost wax technique. Now let's discuss about the three temples from where this statue which is in the front of the Bharat Mandapam draws its inspiration. The three temples were, one of them is Thillai Nataraja Temple, which is in Chidambaram, Tamil Nadu. The temple is of course dedicated to Lord Shiva. Now this is the beautiful temple, you can see it in the picture. Now one thing which is very important, that it is located at center point of world's magnetic equator. Now you see that how beautifully scientifically this temple was created at such an ancient time. What excellent architecture we had at that time. And this architecture of the temple represents link between art as well as spirituality. Most of the Chola temples represent that link, and this temple was constructed during the 10th century. So this was about the Thillai Nataraj temple. Moving on towards our second temple, which is Uma Maheshwar temple. So the deity you can see in the picture, this is the beautiful Nataraj which is placed in Uma Maheshwar temple. It is so beautiful that even our this present Nataraj which was constructed draws its inspiration from here also. Now the ancient inscription of this particular temple says that this temple was constructed from an endowment which was set up by the Chola queen, who was known as Symbian Mahadevi or Chimbian Mahadevi. So she is also pronounced as, or also spelled as Chimbian Mahadevi, and it is in the region of Uttam Chola. And here these bronze icons were used using this lost wax technique only. Moving on towards our last temple, which is the Pradeshwara Temple. So we have already discussed that it was built by Raja Raj Chola I between 1003 and 1001 AD, and this particular temple is part of World Heritage Site. So they are known as the Great Living Chola Temple. So the Great Living Chola Temples are the part of this UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its, of course, unique and beautiful architecture. And one more important thing which the examiner might give you to confuse you, that this temple is also known as Raja Rajeshwaram or Peruvidiyar Koil. So our Brihadeshwara temple is also known as Raja Rajeshwaram or Peruvidiyar Koil, and it is a Hindu temple, of course, which is dedicated to Lord Shiva and located in Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu. It follows Dravidian architecture and also known as the Dakshin Meru. So this is particularly important for your prelims examination, and question have been asked already on your this Brideshwara temple. So always remember, it is known by two other names as well. It is Raja Rajeshwaram and Peruvidiyar Koil, built by Raja Raj Chola I. Dravidian architecture and known as the Dakshin Meru or the Meru of the South, and also it is part of this UNESCO World Heritage Site. So I hope this much is clear to all of you and you found the session interesting. If you found it interesting, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.